What's going on, guys? Aero here, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the development of Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch from GameFreak themselves. Now I'm guessing most of you guys probably don't know, but last night there was a special video game conference that was held in Japan, and a lot of developers were talking about the strategies that they use to develop their games, and one of the developers that was there was somebody from GameFreak talking about how they make the Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch. And while there isn't any new information about something like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I always just find it really fascinating to take a look at how developers develop their games and the mindsets that they have for when they're making these types of games, because it's just really interesting for me to kind of get that perspective from the developers themselves for making all these amazing series that so many people love. And I love just kind of listening to that and kind of hearing their perspective too. So I love when like Sakurai talks about how he makes Smash Bros, or when Takahashi talks about how he makes Xenoblade games. So the same goes for Pokemon, and I do find this presentation pretty interesting. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the entire presentation translated into English yet, but a big shout out here goes to Lutu, who's actually been compiling a lot of the main points that were brought up inside of this presentation. So we're going to be taking a look at his thread here, because this thread pretty much has all of the big points and a lot of interesting details. So yeah, basically it just says here, it started CEDED 2022, hosted by Keiichi Maezawa of GameFreak. Full English translation of the presentation will come later. It's mostly just setting the story for how Pokemon assets were developed throughout the series up until Pokemon Legends Arceus. So obviously this type of stuff here, I don't really have the full translations, but we can see here, like obviously these are the Pokemon games that we have right now on the Nintendo Switch. And obviously because this is focusing on the Game Freak games, that is why Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl aren't here, because those games were made by Ilka Inc. So yeah, these are the Game Freak games that are made, and yeah, we just kind of have information about kind of how they have developed all the Pokemon assets throughout the years ever since they've started them. And really the first big thing that we have here is confirmation that Pokemon Legends Arceus began development in the fall of 2018, with Scarlet and Violet starting around the time that Generation 8 was finishing up, means that both games had about 3 years of development. So yeah, we can see right here, this is the fall of 2018 for this rectangle, and it's talking about for Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then it goes all the way up until the release, which is right here for 1/2022, which is obviously January of this year. And then for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we can see right here it started a little bit later, but it's obviously going to be releasing a little later after, where it's going to be coming out this year too, but it's going to be 10 months after Pokemon Legends Arceus. But the point that they're basically trying to say here is if you do take both of these rectangles and put them next to each other, they are the same amount of time. So Pokemon Legends Arceus and Gen 9 both had the same amount of development time, but it's just obviously because Legends Arceus came out 10 months before, it started earlier development in 2018 because they knew they wanted to get that game out sooner. And so honestly, I just find this really interesting, because this means that Pokemon Legends Arceus already started development before Pokemon Sword and Shield were even revealed to us. And it's just crazy because it really kind of gives you the scope of how Game Freak is developing multiple Pokemon projects at the same time. Like this basically means that they were planning Pokemon Legends Arceus, Pokemon Sword and Shield. There's a lot of stuff that they're always planning simultaneously at the same time. So even right now with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I'm sure they're already working on like the DLC for that generation, maybe even like the next generation, or just like other games that are already going to be coming out in the future. Game Freak just has a ton of projects that they always work on at the same time. Then it says here he's going over how Pokemon models are stored for a consistent use and then are tailored to each new game, with these examples being from Pokemon Legends Arceus. So we can see right here that they pretty much have all of these models that are already set for them, but then they can kind of adjust them to how they're going to be used inside of the games. So we can kind of see here, like these are the models for Pokemon Legends Arceus, where they basically took like these Starly models that we have and then kind of changed how they're kind of modeled to be kind of more clay-like, which you guys kind of can tell from how Pokemon Legends Arceus is and how the Pokemon do appear in that game. So it is pretty interesting to take a look at that. It says here effects pipeline talk. From what I can gather, this is effectively talking about how effects such as shader effects, lighting are applied far more efficiently with this new pipeline. So I think it's talking about how they go with these shaders and effects for when they're making these new models too. So we can see here that they're basically, I think, talking about how they can kind of take a model like this that they already have, which is existing, and then kind of alter it for the style of the game that they're making. And I find that really interesting, because we can see here like a Pikachu model like this that they already have made, they can turn it into this type of art style where they look kind of very clay-like, like how they were in Pokemon Legends Arceus, or they can modify it to look like this with like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where they're much more brightly colored and they're kind of more vibrant in terms of that art style. So I think it is really cool how they're able to kind of use a model like this and being able to adapt it to multiple different art styles. And it looks like they're even kind of showing here some of the environments and how it looks like for that too. So it's honestly just really kind of cool to see how they can take a model like this and then make it actually appear differently inside of the game with the art style that they're going for. Then we have here how it says more talk about the various model improvements and effects, such as how Spiritomb is opaque only from the behind, and really glad that he brought up Ghastly here. The effect for it in Legends looks great. So yeah, we can kind of get an idea here for kind of how the effects are also going for these types of models. So we can see here kind of with the design for like the ears around Flareon, we can see how that's made, with some of the other designs here for like Frostlass and Tentacruel, kind of how the fangs appear here for Tornadus, I'm pretty sure. So that's always really kind of cool to see also with kind of the decisions that they make for how these models appear. And then also we can kind of see here for like the other types of Pokemon models, where we can see here like Spiritomb obviously had like this kind of opaque kind of lightish color, and then Ghastly was kind of more transparent looking, which I thought looked really cool inside of Pokemon Legends Arceus. And even like the fire effect that they had for Pokemon that just had flames, like even I think if we look up here with like what they showed with the Cyndaquil, I always just thought that the flames effect that they had inside of Pokemon Legends Arceus looked really good. So I'm glad that they're kind of bringing up that as well with how they make their games. Then it just says here there's new concept art for Jubilee Village, which you can also see right here as well. So yeah, I mean, here we have kind of a very basic image of just what Jubilee Village looked like, and you can kind of see here they even have like that little arch for how you enter into the village, and you kind of have like the old-fashioned houses here, Mount Coronet obviously looming in the background, Starly's flying inside of the sky. So it kind of gives you an idea for what they really wanted to portray when they started developing this game. Then it also says here, talking about the various improvements to the effects in Pokemon Legends Arceus, such as the bushy looking hair, gel-like effects, glowing particles, and then the Terrestrial variations. Heard the words Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald in there. I really can't wait to see this get translated. So yeah, I think here they're just kind of talking about the different types of models. So obviously they just have like one Pikachu model, but they can make Pikachu look different in terms of the art styles that they have for the games. And you can see here, like this is how Pikachu appears inside of Pokemon Legends Arceus, where it's kind of much more clay-like, but then inside of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it's like not as vivid in terms of its colors. You can see here Pikachu doesn't look super brightly yellow, but instead it's kind of have a more kind of detailed type of design with the art style that they're kind of going for that game, with kind of the more washed out colors. So it's just pretty interesting with how they have these different decisions in terms of like which colors they want to make more vibrant and which colors they kind of want to make more washed out. It is always just kind of pretty cool to see. And we can even see here like with some of the other Pokemon, obviously these Pokemon here like Miraidon and Quaxly are much more vivid and bright, so we can kind of see that they still do have those brightly colored Pokemon models that are still inside of the games too. And then also with like the whole Terrestrial phenomenon, we can see here how they have like the crystallized forms for the Pokemon models too. And then with the whole Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald thing, I think they're just kind of talking about how it kind of looks like that with kind of the crystallized forms that we can see here for these three starters. Now it also says here they're talking about the efficiency of being able to reuse animations between Pokemon with similar body types, different molds such as snake-like Pokemon, dragon-like Pokemon, or dog and cat-like Pokemon. So basically they're talking about how Pokemon that they feel appear kind of similarly, they can kind of reuse the model's animations, and I think that that makes a lot of sense. Like obviously here we can see two fighting Pokemon which both stand on two legs, and then two kind of dog-like Pokemon which we can see here with Luxray and Leafeon, and because of that they can kind of reuse these types of animations. So both Machop and Lucario can put up like a fist into the air because of how they would both make sense for that Pokemon, as they both are fighting types, and that way they don't have to spend too much time to make like a separate animation just for Machop and a separate animation just for Lucario. And I feel like some people might call this lazy, but honestly it makes a lot of sense because at this point now we do have so many Pokemon, so to have a unique animation for every single Pokemon would just take so much time for them to do. So obviously reusing it for Pokemon that do appear in similar ways, it obviously does make a lot of sense, and I think we can kind of see here that's kind of the mindset that they go into with these types of Pokemon. And then we also see here more information about kind of how the smaller bone structures work with the efficiency too. So we can see here like with Lucario and Machop, they pretty much go for a similar type of thing. Even with like Dragonite and Charizard, both very kind of dragon-like Pokemon, they can kind of go for a similar type of thing. And even with some other Pokemon that you wouldn't really expect, like Solgaleo and Camprupt. So it's just really cool with the decisions that they make for kind of which Pokemon they feel like should have these types of animations. And then we also have an example here of like Rayquaza and Barboach, which also do have similar animations, but obviously they're like two completely different Pokemon. So it's just kind of really interesting to take a look at that. And they're even talking about model rigging, which they've been using as well, where they basically have like a real life person who's going to put on stuff that they use for animations, and then they computerize those animations for how they appear Pokemon to appear as well. So it's just really cool with the kind of way that they make these animations now, and how a real person can do some animations, and then they translate those animations into the models for Pokemon. Now here they talk about kind of like the Pokey Rig that they have for kind of how the different assets that they kind of plan for how they make their Pokemon. So they have like a face one, a tail one, a spine, and an arm, and they basically just take like these rigs and then kind of adjust the different aspects of them when they're modeling. So you can see here with like the different shapes and stuff, this is kind of the effort that they have to put into in order for animating these kind of models and how they appear. And so I just find this stuff kind of really interesting to take a look at, as we can kind of see here, this is how tails get animated for Pokemon like Rayquaza, which you can see right here. And then if we go back here, they also showed it for some other Pokemon like Rhydon here. So we can see here the claws are animated and kind of how they move the head around it and stuff too. So it's actually really kind of cool to just take a look at that. Then it also says here lots of spine showcases here for kind of how the Pokemon move with their spines too. So that makes a lot of sense with kind of how if a Pokemon stands on two legs or if it's on all fours. So it's just kind of really interesting to take a look at this and kind of just the way that they go about it. And then the last thing that just we see here is kind of a GIF of it in action, where it just says here we can kind of see how it looks like for when they're animating these different types of structures. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of all the information that GameFreak has shared so far about kind of the development of these Pokemon games. And obviously, like I said here, there's no new information about Generation 9 or anything like that, but this kind of really gives you some more information kind of behind the scenes about how GameFreak does go about developing these types of games, and how they do have these models which they can kind of alter to be able to be used in different art styles, how they animate them with like the different kind of parts that are on them and the backs and spines, and kind of how they reuse animations for Pokemon that appear similarly, and also just the development time for Pokemon too. Like now we know that Pokemon Legends Arceus did start development in 2018, and it's just kind of really interesting to take a look at this stuff. So I always just do find this stuff very fascinating. But yeah, there you go guys, that is pretty much all the information that we have from GameFreak about how they develop their Pokemon games and their models behind the scenes in terms of the Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch. If you guys enjoyed this video, then definitely be sure to click that like button and also comment down below and let me know what you guys think about this. How do you guys feel about the strategies that GameFreak uses in developing these models for the Nintendo Switch Pokemon games? How do you guys feel about it? Did you guys find any of this pretty interesting? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. If you're new to this channel, then please be sure to subscribe. I'm definitely going to have some more Pokemon content in the future, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Click on that bell to become a part of the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.